I've actually consulted with a couple clients where they were like, look, this is the policy that we have, but our team does not want to do it. And I think the most important thing is that you want to tie the policies that you have in place, not just to protecting yourself as the business owner, but also protecting the business. And so by extension, protecting them, and protecting being more like protecting their capacity, protecting their quality of work, as well as making sure that you're protecting the culture that they enjoy.
Hello, today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, Elisabeth Bourke, the owner and chief system strategist of the Afro Coach Operations agency. Elisabeth has an incredible journey, having transitioned from being a project manager at an agency to founding her own operational solutions company. Through her experiences with burnout and the grind of entrepreneurial life, Elisabeth discovered the transformative power of robust policies and processes. So in today's episode, we explore the importance of setting clear communication policies and boundaries with clients to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Elisabeth shares her personal journey on how burnout during a vacation in Thailand became a pivotal turning point, leading her to create a business structure that offers both operational sustainability and personal freedom. We dive deep into how to establish effective policies for client interaction, delivery, administration, and lead management, ensuring a positive client experience while protecting your business and your team. Elisabeth also offers practical advice on implementing systems to enforce these policies and make processes efficient for team members. From experimenting with different strategies to rebuilding her business foundation, Elisabeth's story is packed with invaluable insights. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or dealing with burnout, you'll find her advice on slowing down and reassessing the why, who, and how of your stress incredibly helpful. So stay tuned as we discuss how policies and processes not only benefit your business and clients, but also your team, empowering them to showcase their skills effectively without constant oversight. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's get into this enlightening episode with the awesome Elisabeth Bourke. Hey Elisabeth, thank you so much for joining me today all the way from Australia. I know it's very early in the morning right now there. I hope you had a cup of coffee already, or whatever is, your caffeine in the morning.
Thankfully, I did. I have a nice, huge jug of water just right outside of the camera. That's just keeping me awake. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you waking up early today, and I'm excited to get to know more of you as well. So why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Elisabeth. I'm the owner and chief system strategist over at the Afro Coach Operations agency. We've been an agency for 2 years. And then prior to that, for about 4.5, or no, we're on our 6th year, 5 years now, I was a solo consultant and a service provider. Prior to that, I worked at an agency for project management. And so I take all of those experiences to really help create an operational soft life, is what we call it inside of our agency, for agencies, boutique agencies, and service providers as well. Our biggest goal is to make it to where businesses, and particularly business owners, are not chasing freedom, but we build it in, and we do that through operations, policies, team performance, making sure things are running smoothly and authentically so that businesses can be sustainable, but the business owner is not stuck in the operations trying to keep everything together. So we've worked with about 50 business owners so far, and we're going pretty strong. And yeah, that's my business life in a nutshell.
I love it. So you were a project manager for an agency before you started your own business. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What made you decide to start your own business?
It's actually really funny because when I was working in an agency, if anyone, in fact, I had a colleague of mine say, you'd be really good agency owner. And I straight up laughed in his face. I was like, absolutely not. And then same colleague who's now a trusted mentor and friend reached out to me when he saw I started an agency, and he's like, "Oh, interesting." But what really got me interested in starting an agency is when I was working as a consultant, so doing a lot of work solo. I saw a lot of, and I say this empathetically because this was also true for my own business. I saw a lot of mess, but avoidable
Mm.
mess, because as you grow your business, it's messy and you're just trying to figure stuff out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
once you finally get your groove, that mess, at least operationally, never fully gets resolved because you're just like, well, I figured this out. I really don't want to change anything because, it's working. And as someone who would come in and consult with these businesses, when you're consulting, yes, I can give strategy, I can give decision. And typically I would hand off the work either to somebody else, or then they would just hire me as a service provider. So I was already doing both sides of the work anyway. And I saw a real opportunity, in particular with our main audience of agency owners and service providers, of I see a real opportunity here to be able to provide not just my service, but the service of a team of people who can come in and kind of be that end-to-end support for them. So where they're not having to kind of piecemeal when they can call in an expert and when they can call in just to do a quick fix up, they can have somebody who can really be a strategic and implementation partner when it comes to cleaning up and streamlining their operations. So that's really what got me interested. And then the main reason, and also I think why a lot of people come on your show and like why people hire you and your agency as well,
Mm.
is that I could not do it by myself. I was like, listen,
Mm.
there's a lot of people out here who need help. I am one person. It led to multiple phases of burnout in my business. And I just knew that if I could get an agency up and running sustainably, because like I've heard some horror stories with some agencies, I'm
Mm.
like, if I can just apply what I know to my agency, then I got it. Like it's going to be something that's going to be more sustainable for me. And so far, 2 years in, it has been.
I love it. I love it. Well, kudos to that friend who believed in you and who saw that you can run your own business. And we need friends like that, right? Sometimes we
Really
may
do.
not feel like we're able to do something, but once somebody tells us something that we can do it, it's like it's already tattooed in our mind, right? And
Mm.
then eventually you're kind of like um leaning towards that idea that you can do something. So you started your business in 2019. Oh, actually in
Yes.
2018, if
2018.
I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, but during that time you were a business coach, so you didn't have the Afro. Oh, did you have the Afro Coach Operations Agency during that time already, or that was after?
I did not. That was after.
Okay, that was after. Okay. And then during that time, as you were growing your business, you got so busy and you got burnt out. But you did not get stuck in that situation. You found a way to
Mm.
transform your business, not only become successful, but to also enjoy running in business and have a sustainable business, not just your business itself, but also you personally, you have to make sure that you're sustaining yourself as well as a business owner. So how did you do that? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are so overwhelmed right now. They're so busy. They don't know how to get out of that situation. It seems like, they don't have any other option but to keep on doing what they're doing and work 16 hours for 16 hours
Yeah.
every day. So how did you make sure that, you're running your business successfully, but at the same time, you still have freedom and flexibility?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'll start with the underlying thought that helped was that I recognized, like, after that initial burnout, because that initial burnout, the burnout of 2018, was only the first of many. I definitely
Mm.
had other crash outs for sure. But what really helped me was also an innate belief of I was meant to do this. Like I was meant to have this business, because the thing wasn't that I didn't love serving clients. That was something I had to recognize. I think when you're in burnout, because everything just feels like so much, it feels like, okay, then maybe I'm supposed to be doing, maybe I'm supposed to go back to a job. Maybe I'm supposed to be working for somebody else. But the thing was, is that there was always something in me going, but I love what I do. It's just, I don't like how I'm doing it. And so being able to identify that is really, really helpful in understanding, okay, it's the how, it's not the who or the why. Those things are solid. I just need to figure out how I'm going to do this so that I feel the relief and the peace that I was looking for in starting a business. Some context as well is like the reason why I had such a huge burnout in 2018 is because that was the year I also moved from the US to Australia. So looking back, it probably wasn't my greatest idea to take on all these clients and then move to a country all the way across the world from everybody with my now husband. And so I was already emotionally in a completely different state. Like I was not in the most optimal, I can serve everybody who is on my roster type place. And so that happened. And then of course, after those contracts ended, then I needed to get back into selling and marketing. And like, we're coming off the era of like the 2017 era of girl boss, so it's like hustle, hustle, hustle. Like I'm doing everything, I'm posting everywhere. That's what I knew. And so trying to do that when I already was at a low capacity was not my best look. And so when we get to the pinnacle of like, I want to say it was midway through 2018, my husband and I had planned a vacation to Thailand. I'd never been. And we were just trying to like get out of my head really, because I was so stressed. He's like, let's find a vacation. I barely remember that vacation because I was working during that vacation. And I think that was the moment when I recognized how burnt out I was. I always remember that vacation, being in the hotel room, watching my husband from the window out on the beach and wondering, why am I not out there? Wow. Why am I not enjoying this vacation that's supposed to be a relaxing vacation? And now it's become a working vacation. And every vacation up until this point had been a working vacation. So I think for me, that was really when I identified something has to shift, and started really doing that work of, okay, what can I do to whereas I never have to be in this situation again? So that was really the beginning of it all. Then I apologize, I forgot the second part of your question, but I think I might have told this backwards. But can you mind reminding me what that second part was?
Actually, I don't remember the second question. But all I know is that I asked you what did you do to make sure that you experience freedom and flexibility.
Yes, thank you. So for me, like going back to what I was initially saying before I went into that lovely tale of figuring out the how, as opposed to trying to change my why and who I was serving, what really helped me was I tried a whole bunch of different things, honestly. Like at that point, like you mentioned, I was a coach. I already also was doing kind of done for you things on the side. So I was like, let me lean into that a bit more because I enjoy building. I enjoy creating things. I enjoy consulting. And so I leaned into that a little bit more. I took less clients. That was the big thing. I wasn't afraid to slow down until I could figure out where I could speed up again, because I realized me trying to just go wasn't helping me at all. So being able to and willing to slow down and really take a look at my foundation, which is really what I figured out. Oh, this thing was never built for me to be able to step back from this. This thing was never built to be sustainable. Was I ever really able to start rebuilding it to be more fortified for me to be able to do so? So that's when I started taking on more project management jobs, because I used to be a project manager. I was an OBM for a couple of years. I was trying different consultancy jobs. And it was through all of that work that I was like, I think I have something here with operations. I think I have something here with team performance. I think I have something here with being able to build out systems. And so that's really what started it all. Like that burnout, yes, was probably one of the lowest moments, but at the same time, it also really gave me a hard look of what are you trying to build here? And it kind of goes back to what one of our mottos are with the agency now of we don't We don't chase freedom, we build it. Because I realized all throughout 2018, and I still catch myself doing it. Like, it's not like because I'm a systems person and because I do operations, magically, this never happens to me ever. I never think this. But I remember that I always would try and chase clients. I would try and chase higher revenue months. I'd try and chase all of these different things and accolades. But I had to remind myself that no, there's things that you've built into your business to provide the freedom that you're looking for every day. And so you don't need to chase. Like, you don't need to push when you know you don't have the capacity to do so. And you know the life that you want does not allow for that type of capacity. This business will be able to grow the way you want it to on its own without you trying to push the narrative. You've made space for that. So that's what really helped me, was being able to slow down, be able to experiment a little bit, and then also really focus on rebuilding that foundation to be something that built in that type of space and freedom that I was looking for.
I love that. Sometimes experiencing burnout, sometimes we need it, although we don't want to be in that position. I don't know what you believe in, but sometimes, God just allows us to be in a place where we need to really reflect on what we're doing, in our
100%.
life. Because if everything is going so well, we tend to be so complacent. We tend to be putting our guards on, because we're just, happy-go-lucky, we're just enjoying, the moment. And yes, we enjoy the
Going with the
moment,
flow.
but at the same time, we need to be challenged. We need to push ourselves to do something greater than what we are currently doing. And I love what one of my mentors said. He said that the enemy of good is great. And so if you are currently doing something right now and you feel like that's already good, and later on you will feel tired and sick of what you're doing because you're not really fully utilizing your potential. Does that make sense? Sometimes
that makes complete sense.
Sometimes what we do initially is just a stepping stone to what we're supposed to be doing. Kind of like what happened to you. You were a business coach, but you got burned out because of accepting new clients. But then you were able to think of other ways to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. And now, you may not be serving clients as a business coach, literally, but you're still a business coach, because you're coaching them how to build policies and processes, maybe not in a typical way on how business coaches coach other businesses. So, because your story is kind of similar to my story. I moved from the Philippines to the States in 2019, but I was already a virtual assistant in 2017. But when I moved to the States, I got so stressed and overwhelmed because I kept on accepting new clients. And so my thought during that time was, why say no to these clients when they are opportunities that I was praying for? I remember that time I was praying to have more clients, and now that they're there, I can't seem to handle all of them. And so one day I just thought of reaching out to people back home to see if they can help me in the business. And so now I'm no longer a virtual assistant. I am the CEO of my agency. And so I started as a virtual assistant, but that is not who I was meant to be. I am meant to run an agency and help other virtual assistants out there get more clients for themselves. And so I want to talk about, since this is something that you are expert in, creating policies and processes for businesses. And there are so many things that we can talk about regarding this topic, right? But can you tell us what are the areas or aspects in our business that needs policies and processes?
I'd venture to say every area, but if we were to start with the most important ones, I always say client delivery, communication, particularly with your team and with your clients. I'll separate that out from delivery, as well as administration. And I
Mm.
say those three because those are the three most impactful areas internally of your business that are going to make sure that you have a scalability factor. Client experience, absolutely, but I feel like everybody talks about client experience. When I think of policies in particular, of just, okay, this is how we do things. This is the blueprint and the framework of our business. These are the rules of our business, if you will. These are the three most impactful areas that I've seen across so many different agencies, across so many different industries, that are typically lacking. And typically also something that we think, well, if we we know them as a business owner. We know what we allow and what we won't allow, and sometimes we'll let some things slide. Or the team's been with me for years. They helped me grow this. They know this. But the thing is that everybody has a variation of your policy in their head and what they're allowed to do and what they're not. And when we get complacent, very similar to what you were saying, when we get complacent on what the definitive policy is, that's when things can get really messy. That's when
Mm.
things can get really complex. And that's honestly when things start to slow down in business. And you're wondering, like, what's the bottleneck? Like, why is it feels so messy every time we bring on a new client, we bring on a new project? It's because we do not have any standardized policies or standardized processes, which is just the steps in place in these three key areas to make sure that we can deliver a consistent experience both internally and to the client.
That makes sense. And I know you mentioned, we need policies and processes so we can delegate that to our team and so that they can follow that exactly how we want it and exactly
Mm-hmm.
how we don't like it. So at what point should a business have a policy or processes in place?
I think it's hard to define a year, like saying, oh, you should have it by
Mm.
year three. I think it's more after you've had more than a couple situations that have happened in your business, make a policy for it. Like as soon as you've experienced that, whatever that situation is, have that policy in place. When you have a new service, I would have a new policy in place. Um, Also, when you know that you are wanting to bring on team members in any
Mm.
capacity. So virtual assistant, delivery assistant, anybody who you want to bring on, you better make sure that those policies are documented. I think the best way to say it is it's situational. I think you should have them regardless if you have a team or not, but it's situational only because when you come, there's going to be some things that you're not going to expect. There's going to be some things that you just trust you're going to figure out. We're very much as entrepreneurs kind of figure outable people. We're like,
Right.
we'll get there. We'll figure it out. Once you figure it out, make a policy for it, because you
Mm.
don't want to keep having to figure it out every single time a situation occurs, because that's how you stay stuck in your business. And that's also how you become, especially as you grow into a manager and a leader and bringing on team members. That's also very quickly how you become an encyclopedia for your business, because the team doesn't know your policies and not written anywhere. And they're just used to coming to you and you saying, oh, well, you can do this for this person and you can do that for that person. So it's really important you have those things nailed down. So that way, again, you're able to do what you're meant to do, which is leading the team, making sure that the quality of the experience is good, building the business, selling, that you don't get stuck having to answer every little thing because you didn't have these policies standardized. So
Mm.
situational, but anytime you know you're going to bring somebody on, anytime you have a new service and you've gotten 1 to 2 clients under your belt and you've had consistent experiences that you're like, wait, we need a policy there because there seems to be some confusion or vagueness, and we need to make sure there's a decision in place so that we don't have to go through this again. You should be making a policy.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I remember when I was still working for corporate, um, every time there is a new policy that was cascaded to the whole company, we always ask, okay, who's the one at fault? Who did this thing?
Who's the
Who
one
was
who
who
did
was
it?
late? We used to have a 15-minute grace period. Now it's only 5 minutes. Who abused this grace period? We're always like that, which is, as much as we want to anticipate everything, we can't. I mean, when we start our business, we don't even know what's going to happen the following day, so there is really no way to figure out everything ahead of time. But if there is anything that we can be proactive about in terms of policies and processes, what is that thing, or what are those things?
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
I would say you have to figure out your non-negotiables when it comes to those three areas. So I'll use client delivery as an example because I think it's the most straightforward. So if you know or actually I'll use communication because I think that's the boundary that's most often crossed. If you have business hours in your business, as an example, I think when we're first starting our businesses, we're just kind of like, we work when people work, like whenever, if I'm up and you need to talk to me, I'm here, I'm available. And so if you have business hours in your business and you have particular meeting days in your business, and okay, for my schedule, because everybody's schedule is different, I cannot be taking calls on these particular days. I've got kids to pick up. I've got parents I got to take care of. I have other responsibilities. And those 2 days you cannot take calls. Make a policy for it. Be like, hey, like, we're going to be making, like, we have just a standard communication policy that we meet only on Mondays and Wednesdays, or we meet between Tuesdays and Thursdays. We don't take meetings on Mondays and Fridays, as an example. Simplistic example, but you get my drift. You want to make sure that if there are things that that you cannot compromise on, you do not want to compromise on, it comes back to that building freedom type aspect, then make a policy for it. Put it in the contract. Make sure that it's in the onboarding. Make sure the client understands that that is a part of the expectation. Something else that I mention to clients often is that, especially for service providers, where this, like, the communication policies are really hard because they're like, well, we want to make sure our clients feel they can come to us. Like, we want to make sure they feel they have access to us. Proximity to you does not equal higher client satisfaction to your clients.
Yep.
So you feeling like, okay, I can, as long as I'm available to them at all times, and I'm not just talking about calls, but also like Slack messages, WhatsApp messages, Voxer, Instagram DMs, wherever you talk to your clients, that does not make your service more valuable. And so we need to make sure, okay, like, what policies are going to ensure that if they need to reach you, they can, but also make sure you are not always on call, because you're not going to be at your best if somebody all of a sudden now messages you on a day that you are not available, saying that they want to call, and you feel like now you've got to choose between life and work. We never want to put you in that situation. So being proactive in what is a non-negotiable for you for your life and what works for you in your life, make sure that you have policies that can act as boundaries and parameters to make sure that you're protected from that inside of your business. So I talked about communication, but spread that across for client delivery, spread that across for administration, for leads management, how you talk to leads. All of that can have policies to protect yourself, as well as make sure that your clients have a great experience with you as well. It's a win-win for everybody.
I love that. And I'm the type of person that started loving policies and processes. When I was an employee, I hated it. Because it felt like I was put in a box. It's kind of like do's and don'ts, right? But of course, during that time, I didn't have a full understanding of how a business should run. And for other business people and for our team members, they may not share the same love that we have for policies.
Yep.
So especially for some people, for freelancers, let's say, so they don't want to work for corporate companies because of some of the strict policies they have in place, they may feel that they don't have freedom to do what they want to do at work. And so they opt for working for agencies, because agencies tend to be more free flowing, and they value culture and team members. But at the same time, on our end as business owners, yes, we want to give our people freedom to do what they want to do. But at the same time, we want to set parameters in place so that nobody abuses the freedom that you give to them, right? So
Exactly.
how do we make sure that clients or team members are on board with the policies that we set in place, especially with team members, right? Like they may feel like it's very bureaucratic, that they have to do something and, whatever, especially if it's something that they don't want to do. So I think, this is something, I don't know if you have experienced anything like this, but yeah.
Yeah. I've actually consulted with a couple clients where this was a situation where they were like, look, this is the policy that we have, but our team does not want to do it. And I think the most important thing is that you want to tie the policies that you have in place, not just to protecting yourself as the business owner, but also protecting the business. And so by extension, protecting them, and protecting being more like protecting their capacity, protecting their quality of work, as well as making sure that you're protecting the culture that they enjoy. So a great example of this is with client delivery. For client delivery within our agency, delivery assistants deliver from end to end. So we don't have it where a team member comes in and they do one small section of a systems build and then somebody else comes in and does the other section. We found that very inefficient, right? So for our delivery assistants, we need them to do full end to end. And a lot of people that I talked to in interviewing for this role were like, oh, we don't do the SOP. We don't do this. We don't do that, et cetera, and so forth. And so when I would bring people on and they had resistance to this, now not to the level of resistance of clients, something that I would always put in those policies is going, look, first of all, it's not going to be something that is going to crush your creativity. Part of our culture is we love creativity. Like we love being able to think of new solutions, et cetera, and so forth. The policies are only there to protect your creativity. I think that's something, there's kind of like a misconception about policies and like systems as a whole, is that they are meant to snuff out your creativity, and maybe in corporate they were, but at least here, like with being able to have such a culture where we can really cultivate it with the team, it's going, we are putting these in place because we want to make sure that we're getting the best from you. We know we can't get the best if you are constantly having to be on call with me to double check if this is right. I'm like, so no, like the decision's already put in place of like, if you have all of these different checks in place, like we have a policy where you have to test a build, because we do system builds as well. You have to test a build 3 times. Sometimes, like if we're on a tight schedule, I do not compromise on that 3 test rule, because I'm like, I'm not about to send something out if it hasn't been tested 3 times with all these different scenarios. I'm like, but the reason we do that is because I'm like, I want to see all the different ways you can try and break this. Like, show me all the different ways that you can break this and get fun and like make it fun, like it doesn't have to be like this, go through all the check boxes and everything. I'm like, once you tested those 3 different times, now you're protected from the client saying this isn't working. The agency's protected from the client having a bad experience. And then the client is good to go. And plus we also, this is the second part of this as well. Culture is a big part of it, but also having a system to enforce the policy is also a big part of it. So I'm never going to give you a policy if I don't have a way to enforce it. So the 3 test rule, we have a checklist, we have an SOP, we have a Loom video explaining, hey, this is how you can test it for these different types of platforms. So it's the most effective use of their time. I don't want them spending 3 hours testing a build. I'm like, you can be using that for anything else. And plus I know you'd rather be building something where you can just go crazy on how you build it, as opposed to testing something you've already built. So when we can be efficient with the way that we enforce a policy, especially when it's like not the most fun thing you have to do, like nobody likes writing SOPs, nobody likes testing systems. But when we have a system in place, so that, hey, this is something you have to do, but it's the quickest and most efficient way for you to do it. It's way easier for the team member to be able to adopt it because they're like, okay, like this isn't going to be, I'm not going to be spending all of my time now having to write this out from scratch, having to do all these different tests and complex things. We have a process of how to do this. And that's how policy and process works hand in hand. And then plus, when we've already had that communication of, hey, we're doing this so that we can leave more time for you to do the fun things. So you can do the cool things of your job and allow you to really showcase your skill set. Because we know this is where your skill set really lies. That's when they start to feel, okay, they're thinking about me as well. This is not just about bureaucracy. This isn't just about the client. I'm being considered as well. So those things I've found to be really helpful, not just for myself, but also for when I consult with team members on other, on clients' teams as well.
I love that. I guess it all boils down to who's benefiting from the policies and processes that you are setting in place, right? It's not about just giving the advantage to your clients or to your members or to your business. The policy and processes that you are going to set in place should be fair to everybody, right? And like what you said, it's protecting the business, protecting the client, and protecting the team members. Is there any other word for policy? Because that word tends to have like a tip, like slightly
little trigger,
negative connotation, so
I like to call them decisions because that's all a policy really is. Like, I am making a decision about what we're doing in the business, and these are my set of decisions. So I'm making a decision that you got to do 3 tests before you send something out. Like that's all it is. And so like if policy is like kind of like I've had some clients who are just like, they'll say that as opposed to policy, because I think we all have some corporate trauma or something, collective corporate trauma. But being able to just go, yeah, that's all it is. I am making a predetermined decision so that if this situation occurs, if we come up against this, you don't have to come to me wondering, what do we do? The policy's there. The decision's already made. You know what to do next. Yeah. So yeah, I think decision is our safe word.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And having a policy and, process in place, it's kind of like your Bible for your business, right?
Yeah.
If it makes everything, black and white, but at the same time, again, even the word black and white has a negative connotation because nobody wants to be put in a box, right? But for the lack of better term, it's like making everything structured. It is also something that you can use to defend your actions, because it's your Bible. So if the business owner said, you didn't do this right, you should have tested this, let's say 3 times. But then the team member went back to the policy, like maybe a handbook, and saw that he only needed to test twice. Then he can go and talk to the business owner and say, hey,
exactly.
It says here in your policy that you only need this to be tested, 2 times. So you're good. You don't have to defend yourself. It's up to the business owner how she or he wants to solve the problem. But your conscience is good. Yeah. So it's for everybody.
It levels the playing field in your business. Like, you are obviously still the owner. You are still obviously the founder and the builder ultimately of your business. But I think in addition to, of course, taking you out of the day-to-day, this is like step number 1 of being able to not be in everything inside of your business, but still be able to trust your team. It's also ensuring that everybody knows what's going on. Because like, I don't know about you, but like for me, like I have so many other things going on. Like I'm currently pregnant, like I'm getting ready for maternity leave.
Congratulations.
I am, thank you. Like there's so many other things going on in my life. I'm not going to remember every single policy.
Oh yeah.
I'm not. So I love writing them down. And so when somebody on my team like does something and I'm like, wait a minute, but were we supposed to wait? And they're like, no, this is the policy. I'm like, oh, my bad. Okay. Like, they know the policy better than me. And but I love that. I love that because it no longer feels like I am the keeper of everything in this business that makes it work great. And I feel like for entrepreneurs that can kind of be our tendency, especially when we grew from like ourselves and then we built a team up to be able to support the business, we feel like we are the keeper of culture. We are the keeper of everything good in this business. And if we are moved or removed from this business, the business will die. And that's not the case. So like when we can document these things and create these different things, the team can take up that mantle as well. Your systems can take up that mantle as well. And it just allows for not only a collaborative and positive environment, it allows for a really profitable one too, because everybody's doing what they're supposed to do efficiently. The client wins, everybody wins. You feel confident in taking on more clients because you're like, I know everything's going to be done the exact same way, whether I'm there or not. And that level of relief is next level. Like it allows you to really be able to really dream bigger in your business and be able to start really, I was going to say pushing the boundaries, but that's not correct in the context of this conversation, but be able to really grow your business to where you wanted it to be and allow you to enjoy your life the way you wanted to, because you have these things in place and your team can really shine when you give them that opportunity and those boundaries to be able to work within.
I love it. I love it. So many good insights. And again, like I said earlier, we can talk about policies and processes all day long because there's just a ton of them that we need to create, right? As we wrap up, what would you say to, or what advice would you give to business owners who are not experiencing freedom and flexibility in their business right now? They're just so overwhelmed and stressed out.
When you're overwhelmed and you're stressed, it can feel like there's a lot of things you need to figure out at once. And that is not the case. I strongly, strongly suggest, especially if you're someone who was in my situation in 2018, where you're like, I can't just stop because this is my business and I need the money. And there's so many other things that are happening. If you have the means, slow down. Like take a breather in some part of your business, whether that is slowing down new clients you're bringing on, slowing down content or marketing, whatever it may be, just slow down just a minute and really define, is it the why that's changed? Is it the who has changed, or is it the how that's changed? And what is really stressing you out? Figure out which one of those three or a combination of those three that it is. For me, like I mentioned, it was my how. And that's how I knew, okay, so then I've got to change the structure of my business. And it led to me building an agency that's beautiful. And it like is doing things that I couldn't imagine doing in 2018. Right. I was like, what? Like I can take a vacation and nobody needs me? What? So figure that out. And then the next thing, if you've already figured that out, and if it's similar to you and you are also somebody who it's the how that's kind of tripping you up, I would start, even if you have nobody on your team, even if your team is me, myself, and I, give yourself 3 policies, 3 decisions of what is going to give me calendar space, what's going to give me space to be able to, one, breathe, give yourself some breath, give yourself some rest, but also give yourself some flexibility to figure out what direction you want to take the business. Because policies, I feel like policies also can, I know I use them for myself to be able to give myself space to figure out what I wanted to do, to be able to experiment. It's because I was like, okay, I'm taking no more than 1 new client a month, if that. And then once I reach this threshold, I'm done. I'm not taking any more new clients. I'm only taking calls on these days and these days, which gives me this much time to just experiment and figure out what I want to do. Break it down one step at a time. Don't try and push through or rush through your burnout. That's what got you here. So you want to figure out how you can slow down if you have the means. If it can't be for financial means, you can't stop like just taking on new clients. Figure out other areas you can slow down. Give yourself 3 policies, 3 decisions of how can I give myself more calendar space so that I can rest and I can figure out the decision, be able to figure out the direction of my business. And you can figure out if it's that why, how, or who. Those would be like my first steps to start with. Because then once you have that, then you can start building and figuring out exactly where you need the support. You can figure out, okay, is it that I need a VA? Is it that I need to figure out these processes and I need someone to help me out? Is it that I need to change the structure of my offers? It's really hard to figure that out when you're in the rush of everything. So start with those 3 and then you can move from there.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing those 3 things. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, or particularly Threads. I am popping off over there.
Same.
If you want to be able to get some hot takes, if you want to get some hot takes and some really juicy tips about just systems and policies and processes, team performance. You get to see random pictures of my cat too, if you're into that too. You can find me at Elisabeth Jackson, which is my maiden name, on Instagram and on Threads. And then if you are needing an end-to-end operational solution, you're needing support with not so much the operational management, but before that, you want to make sure that the team can do the best that they can do. And you're like, I know that there's some processes and some systems that I need to put together so that this team can be great. That's where my team comes in. We're end-to-end solutions. We are able to design, build, and then train your team on your updated streamlined systems in less than a month. And if you'd like support with that, you can go to our website at theafrocoach.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Elisabeth. I really appreciate everything that you shared.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, you're welcome.